Hello, welcome to Simcha, a celebration of life. I'm Nikki Wellman. Shabbat is considered a festive time when a Jew is freed from the regular labors of every day, can contemplate the spiritual aspects of life, and spend time with family. As one welcomes in the Sabbath, one is aware of this joyous, holy day through prayer and celebration.
Shabbat is the only mitzvah, is the only commandment that is spoken about in the Ten Commandments that is a festival, that is something which is kept every single week as a festival. The reason for Shabbat, as it says in the Ten Commandments, is to remember that God created the world, which is an interesting concept because what we do is our entire lives we spend building our own environment and building our own worlds. And what the Torah tells us is that once a week we need to take a step back and we need to recognize that there's one ultimate creator of the world. And that then moves on to the laws that are prohibited, the 39 areas of work that are prohibited to do on Shabbat. Most people believe what we're not allowed to do on Shabbat is work, but it's a mistranslation of the word malacha. The word malacha is not work, because the Hebrew word for work is avodah. The Hebrew word malacha, which is what is prohibited, is creative activity. It's creative work that is specifically prohibited on Shabbat. So Shabbat is to bring godliness and spirituality into our lives, to refocus us on that one day, that we can go out into the world and we can experience the world for another 6 days, the world that we create, and then we come back to God, so to speak. And therefore what we do is that we sanctify this day with special brachot, with special activities, with special prayers, and stopping ourselves from doing certain other creative activities. Shabbat starts on a Friday night at sunset, and what we do before we light the Shabbos candles is that we drop tzedakah in the pushka, in the charity box, in order to distribute to poor people. And the purpose is that as we are going to enjoy Shabbat together with our families, we want to ensure that everyone has that opportunity to be able to share a special day together with their family and having special meals and experiencing what Shabbat is about. Being physical human beings, we need as much physical security as possible. And to some extent, that is guaranteed by money, by the money that we have to buy things that we need. That is why giving charity is a spiritual endeavor. It's something which is spiritual. And that's what we do before Shabbat comes in, to show that we believe that God ultimately is in control of our security and our protection. We then light the Shabbos candles. Light is something which is extraordinary because it's part of the physical world, but it doesn't fit in exactly with the physical laws because it's energy that moves upwards. Everything in the physical world is attracted through gravity downwards. And therefore we light the Shabbos candles and we have them close by our meal to spread the idea that within the physical world, within physicality, one can find spirituality. There's a custom in South Africa to light one candle for everyone in the family, for the parents and for the children. But people can add on additional candles as they wish for different special people in their lives. The mitzvah, the merit of lighting the Shabbos candles is generally given to the lady in the household. If there's no lady in the house, then the husband or the father will light in the household. After the lighting of the candles, all of the children are called together. This is a beautiful custom in which we bless, where the parents bless their children. Some people have the custom that the father blesses the children. And everyone is then included in the Kohanic blessing, in the blessing that the Kohanim, that the priests would give to the Jewish people. And we then begin with saying Kiddush. The word Kiddush means to sanctify. And what we do is that we sanctify Shabbat by making a blessing and pointing out that we are now beginning a spiritual period. And that is what the Kiddush is. Kiddush is always said over a cup of wine, that the wine is considered something that comes from the ground, that comes from the grapes. It's something which is used to liven up an experience, and it's considered something that used to be a very important part of the meal. And therefore what we do is that we make a blessing on the wine together with the blessing on Shabbat, which is together forms the Kiddush ceremony. After Kiddush, the family goes and we go and wash our hands. The washing of the hands, which we call vassing, comes from the Yiddish word to wash hands. The reason that we wash our hands is because our hands is going to be what we use to eat in the meal. It's what we're going to be used to partake of the food. We don't want the food to only be something which nourishes and feeds our physical body, but we want the food also to nourish our soul. And therefore the hands which we use in order to eat need to also be sanctified. We need to focus on them and also say that what we're using them for is something which is spiritual. Once the whole family has washed, and we're very particular that since the washing is connected to the eating, there's no talking that takes place between the washing of the hands and the coming to the table. And we take the two special chalot, the two special loaves, which in South Africa, interestingly enough, which is my understanding is one of the only countries in the world, we call the chalot kitka. We call them kitkas, which I understand in Yiddish means platted because it's bread that is platted together. The kitkas are then taken by the person who is running the meal, by the father of the household, and he holds them in his hands and he makes the blessing, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, blessing God for being the one who brings the bread from the ground. And then pouring salt over it, he hands it all to all the participants in the meal. The reason why we use salt is because salt was used on the altar in the temple in Jerusalem that was destroyed some 2,000 years ago. Every single sacrifice had salt that was placed on it. And what we're doing is we're using our table as an altar. We're using our table as a way to serve God, recognizing once again that even though we're getting physical pleasure from what we're eating, we're infusing that with spirituality, that the food becomes a vehicle to enjoy together as a family and to recognize God as creator of the world. And therefore, every single thing that we eat, we bless, we include in the blessing of Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. And after the meal also, there is a blessing that we make at the end, the grace after meals, which thanks God for all of the sustenance that we got, taking the sustenance that we got and connecting it to a spiritual force as well. Shabbat's an extraordinary time, because it's a time where not only are we focusing on God, but it's an opportunity to take a space and create an island in time where one is not running around, one does not have the cell phone going off. It's an island in time in which one can focus on what's really important. One can focus on oneself, one's relationship with God, but also one can focus on one's family. That in itself is an incredibly positive aspect of Shabbat. And please God that as we all keep Shabbat, we are able to feel it on these many different levels, the impact that it has on our lives.
Originally from Muizenberg, Hal Shaper moved to London and wrote songs for Frank Sinatra, Barbra Streisand, Elvis Presley, Elton John, and scores of other big names in showbiz. The Rabbis of Minsk, which he wrote especially for the 2004 Yiddish Song Festival, is joyously funny whilst providing a sharp take on the migration of Yiddish music from shtetl to Broadway.
I'm Misha. I'm Sasha. I'm Bendel. I'm Boris. I'm Mendel. And I'm Morris. I'm a Yitzchak. And I'm Gabe. And two of us is Abe. So you can hardly blame us if we're proud of being famous as the 10 dancing rabbis from Minsk. Hey, Gazatzka. I'm Bendel. I'm Boris. I'm Mendel. And I'm... He's Morris. I'm a Yitzchak. And I'm Gabe. and two of us is eight. So you can hardly blame us if we're proud of being famous as the 10 tap-dancing rabbis from Minsk. When they required some choir boys to fill in at school, on the way we learned to later fit in shul. We read the Torah, learned the Horah, and we danced it with them. Our piano teacher Gershwin said, we all got real. And when we got our makeup on, we all shouted oi! And Moshe Moshe Expi and the Deutsche Sergio Joy. We ate Malakas and we hit the Broadway. 'Twas goodbye Soviet Union skin. And hello,
Well, that's all we have time for this week. Thank you so much for joining us, and please tune in again next Sunday. And we'd like to hear from you, so please comment on our Facebook page at Spirit Sister Productions Network. As always, from me, Nikki, and the entire team, shalom and have a safe and peaceful week.
all were born in Russia. He's Misha, he's Sasha.